The announcement crackled through the empty station at 11:47 p.m. Now arriving on Platform 13. The Midnight Express to nowhere. All passengers with validated tickets, please board immediately. Jen looked up from her phone, confused. She'd been waiting for the last train to Boston for the past hour, stranded after her conference ran late. Platform 13 didn't exist. The station only had 12 platforms. She'd checked the map 3 times. But when she looked down the corridor, there it was. A 13th platform, dimly lit with a sleek silver train idling at the tracks. Its windows glowed with warm amber light, and she could see silhouettes of passengers inside. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Your ticket to nowhere has been validated. Boarding ends in 3 minutes. She hadn't bought any ticket. She opened the notification, and a QR code appeared on her screen, shimmering slightly as if it weren't quite real. This was insane. She should go back upstairs, wait in the main terminal, call an Uber. But something pulled her forward. Her feet moved before her brain could object. The platform was warmer than it should be. A conductor stood by the train door, an impossibly tall figure in a crisp uniform, their face obscured by shadow beneath their cap. "Ticket, please," they said, their voice neither male nor female, neither young nor old. Jen held up her phone. The conductor's scanner beeped, and they gestured toward the open door. "Welcome aboard. Find any open seat. We depart in 1 minute." Inside, the train was nothing like the commuter rail she'd expected. The car resembled a vintage dining car, plush velvet seats, small tables with real tablecloths, brass fixtures that gleamed in the lamplight. Passengers sat alone or in pairs, all looking out the windows with expressions of quiet anticipation. Jen slid into an empty seat. Across from her, a teenage boy with headphones stared out the window. At the next table, an elderly woman in a purple coat held a photograph. Nobody spoke. Nobody looked at their phones except her. The train began to move, smooth as silk. The station lights blurred past, and then they weren't in the city anymore. Outside the window stretched an impossible landscape. They passed through a forest where the trees glowed bioluminescent blue, their branches swaying to a rhythm Jen could almost hear. Then a desert made of what looked like crushed diamonds, reflecting starlight from a sky that held 3 moons. "First time?" asked a voice. Jen turned. A woman in her 30s sat down across from her, where the teenage boy had been. Or had he ever been there? Where are we going?" The woman smiled. "Nowhere, of course, that's what the ticket said. But nowhere isn't a real place, isn't it?" The woman gestured out the window. They were now passing through what appeared to be someone's childhood memory, a suburban backyard with a tire swing frozen in eternal golden hour light. "This train goes to the places that don't exist on maps, the places we need to visit but can't reach any other way." Jen's head spun. "I don't understand. Why am I here?" "Same reason we all are. You needed to get away. Not from somewhere, from everything, from the weight of decisions, from the pressure of tomorrow, from the person you have to be when the sun comes up." The woman stood. "We've all got our own nowhere to visit. Enjoy the ride." She walked toward the next car and disappeared through the door. The train continued through impossible vistas. They crossed a bridge over an ocean where the waves moved in reverse, water flowing upward in elegant arcs. They tunneled through a mountain made of sheet music, the stone walls inscribed with melodies that Jen somehow knew she'd heard in dreams. With each scene, Jen felt something lifting from her shoulders. The job interview she'd bombed 3 days ago, it didn't seem so devastating now. The relationship that had ended badly, it was just one story, not her entire story. The constant anxiety about whether she was on the right path, making the right choices, becoming the right person, it all felt smaller, more distant. A conductor appeared, pushing a cart. "Refreshments? I don't have any money," Jen admitted. "We don't take money, just burdens. What are you carrying that you'd like to leave behind?" Jen thought for a moment. "Fear, I guess. Fear that I've wasted the last 3 years in the wrong career. Fear that it's too late to start over." The conductor nodded and handed her a cup of tea that smelled like chamomile and starlight. That'll do. Drink slowly. As Jen sipped, she felt the fear dissolving, not disappearing entirely, but becoming manageable. She could acknowledge it without being consumed by it. The train began to slow. Outside, the landscape had transformed into something gentler. A twilight meadow where fireflies drew patterns in the air, spelling out words in languages that existed only in intuition. Final stop, nowhere. The conductor's voice echoed through the car. Please take all personal belongings. Passengers are reminded that what happens in nowhere stays in nowhere, but what you learn here goes with you. Jen stood and moved toward the door. The platform outside was empty, just a simple wooden platform in the middle of the meadow, lit by a single lamppost. She stepped off the train. The moment her feet touched the platform, she felt it, a clarity she hadn't experienced in years. She knew what she needed to do, not the perfect answer, but her answer. The job didn't matter. The career path didn't matter. What mattered was that she'd been so busy trying to figure out her destination that she'd forgotten to actually live. The train's whistle blew, a sound like wind chimes and distant thunder. "Wait," Jen called out. "How do I get back?" The conductor appeared in the doorway. "You already are back. You never left. That's the secret of nowhere. It exists in the spaces between thoughts, in the pause between heartbeats. You just needed permission to visit." The train began to move, picking up speed, its lights fading into the distance until they were just another constellation in the strange sky. Jen stood alone in the meadow, but she wasn't afraid. She closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and opened them to find herself still sitting in the empty station terminal, her phone dead in her hand. The clock on the wall showed 11:51 p.m. 4 minutes had passed, but something was different. She felt lighter. She felt ready. Her phone buzzed to life with a push notification. The 12:15 train to Boston is now boarding on Platform 7. Jen grabbed her bag and headed toward the platform. As she walked, she noticed something in her coat pocket that hadn't been there before. A silver ticket stub punched with the words, "Nowhere. Return trip available when needed." She smiled and kept walking. Somewhere behind her, if you knew where to look, Platform 13 waited in the shadows. It was always there, ready for travelers who needed to go nowhere to find their way home. And in her pocket, the ticket stayed warm, a reminder that sometimes the most important journeys are the ones that take you exactly nowhere at all.